Good morning, or afternoon, Mr. Coffman. My name is Andrew Morgan. I'm the chair of the 7th Circuit JNC, and I kind of told you, that's the public Zoom. There's some JNC members who are appearing by Zoom as well. It's a separate Zoom link, so you might get questions from them. And so can you start by introducing yourself and telling us why you want to be a circuit judge?
Sure. My name is Neal Coffman, and first of all, I'd like to thank all the members of the commission for doing this. I know it's a tremendous amount of work. Having filled out one of those applications, I know you have received 10 of them, and they all have to be vetted and carefully reviewed, so in addition to this process. So thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll begin by telling you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Neal Coffman. I grew up in Michigan. Household with 2 working parents, and worked with a little help from student loans, make that a lot, my way through college and law school. Undergraduate was more retail management. Graduate school, law school was, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
You have to speak up.
You're going to speak up.
I'm used to saying that a lot because I do Zoom for court a lot, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
The danger of sounding like the Verizon guy, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, worked my way through college and law school. In law school, I had the opportunity to be employed by the Michigan Department of Attorney General, where I was able to do various things for the, I don't think you can hear me. Can you hear me?
No.
They can't hear us. They can't hear me at all. I'll move closer.
Is it that you're not getting a connection, or is it that he's not talking loud enough? Was the other computer better? It's a different internet that I'm, because mine's my work computer. No, mine's the work computer, so I can access the. All right, well, I'll switch it back. Is that all right?
Can you hear me now? I moved a little closer to the mic.
It's that it's not. It's,
Okay,
It's better
we'll
now?
try it, yeah.
Okay, good.
We can all hear you, so pretend like you're talking to them. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to start over again. My name is Neal Coffman. I grew up in Michigan in a household with 2 working parents. I worked my way with some help with some student loans through law school. I already said that, but I'm saying it again. In law school, I had the opportunity to have a position with the Michigan Department of Attorney General. In that position, I was able to assist the attorneys in the office with various things, as you would expect, but uniquely, I also had the opportunity to practice in court in Michigan under a court rule that they had, which allowed me the opportunity to actually prosecute civil child abuse and neglect cases up in Michigan. I learned a lot doing that, and after...
let me swap it out. Sorry.
Okay, sure.
My computer seems to work.
Sorry, Mr. Coffman.
Oh, that's quite all right. Louise told me that this happened the last time too, so it's not a problem. That sounds fair. Yeah, that's fair.
It's our afternoon.
That's right.
Well, I think you're probably well trained with running Zoom court nonstop.
Yes. Mostly self-trained. I think I had one quick overview, but I've gotten rather good at it.
While we're waiting on them, what do you see as Zoom as the future in the courtroom?
I see Zoom and teleconferencing and remote hearings as being an important part, but certainly not all of hearings in the future. I mean, Florida's open for business again. We just received an administrative order last night that basically the 7th Circuit's open for business, and we are going to start doing more in-person court. Obviously, there's a lot of Zoom hearings that have been scheduled in the short term, and those are
Can
going to
y'all
take
hear
place
me
via
now?
Zoom. And there will
It's
still
clear.
be Zoom hearings. I'm sorry. And there will still be Zoom hearings, which will take place after we go back to in-person court. I mean, it's a wonderful tool to be able to provide people who otherwise might not have been able to appear in person with the opportunity to fully participate in a court hearing. And I think it's useful for that. I think there are big drawbacks too. I think that it's much easier and probably more accurate to make things like credibility determinations when you're looking someone in the eye and you can see their face and their body language. You know, and you become a little less enamored with Zoom about the fifth time you ask someone to please stop the vehicle for the court hearing or please put a shirt or other pieces of clothing on. But hey, it is a useful tool, and I do intend to keep using it if I were appointed to the bench, or even if I'm not in my current position, I would keep using Zoom to some extent. I am looking forward to more in-person court hearings. I have had this position for about 13 years as a quasi-judicial officer, child support enforcement hearing officer. In this position, I sit in much the way a circuit judge would, either in a courtroom or in front of a Zoom terminal, and hear circuit-level hearings. I make recommendations to the circuit judges for orders, which are then entered after review by the circuit judge, and become orders of the circuit court. I deal with family law, child support matters in my position as a child support enforcement hearing officer. And I've gotten rather good at the Zoom, but I also do enjoy the extra information that you get, we'll put it that way, when you have an in-person hearing. Like I said earlier, being able to look someone in the eye and make a determination on credibility is just key. But the one thing that remains the same between Zoom hearings and regular in-person court hearings in a courtroom is the way you hear the case. You're taking the facts of each individual case and applying them to the law as written. And I'll just tell you up front, my judicial philosophy is that the law is made by the legislature, signed by the governor. It's not for the courts to go making law. It's for the court to apply the law exactly as written. I am a firm believer in the separation of powers. I also believe the court system is the guardian of the law as written. And more importantly, I believe that if you take the law and apply the facts of the law to each case, 99% of the time you're going to achieve a just result. I believed that when I took this position, and that belief has become even stronger over the years. Is there occasionally a ruling that gives you pause? Yes, but if you think about it, if you always apply the facts of each individual case to the law as written, there's always a reason why it went the way it did. Even if it might not always be the most personally satisfying ruling, there's always a reason. And the law is important, and it should always be respected.
When you were in private practice, what was your areas of focus?
When I was in private practice, I did mostly civil and family law, civil litigation and insurance, real estate, things like that. And then, of course, a lot of family law. And then, of course, I moved into the position of the Department of Children and Families, where I was a civil litigation senior trial attorney. And in that position, it was a 40-something full trials, like serious TPR trials that I conducted. But at any given time, I would have more than 200 children on my caseload. And I would be responsible for making sure that all those families either addressed the issues that needed to be addressed so that the children could be safely reunited with the parents, or, unfortunately, so that the children could be freed for adoption so that then they could have safe, loving homes. And we either successfully reunified families or provided permanency for the children through the termination of criminal rights process in the vast majority of our cases. And I'm very proud of the work I did there. It was good work. It felt good. It was a difficult job, but I learned a tremendous amount there. Which brings me to the next point I want to make. I made a tremendous number of contacts, not only in private practice before I worked at DCF, but in connection with working that position, especially here in Volusia County. Not just the people I worked with, but the people on the other side of the courtroom, and who I would come into contact in the course of prosecuting those cases. Many of those people, especially even the opposing counsel, are friends of mine and colleagues to this day. I keep in touch with them, and those are people that I would think will step up if I were appointed by the governor and had a need to defend this position. And I'll just say up front, because I know one of you is going to ask me about it, as you very well should. If I am appointed by the governor, if you choose to send me up and the governor were to select me, I intend intend to defend this position vigorously. I don't intend to lay down. I don't intend to sit back and hope for the best. I don't think that a position as a circuit judge is promised to anyone or is an entitlement of anyone just because they may have been appointed by the governor. It's ultimately the voters who will choose to send you back or choose to pick someone else. And I think a huge part of that is doing a good job as a judge. And by extension, I feel that I've done a very good job as a child support hearing officer, quasi-judicial officer for the last about 13 years. And I've seen thousands of people come in and out of my courtroom, and last year or so my Zoom terminal, and those people vote. And while not everybody probably feels like they loved my ruling or that they won their case, I feel like every person who's come in front of me, hopefully, at least I go out of my way to make sure they feel like they've been heard. And if they feel like they've been heard, I feel like they have respect for the ruling, respect for the court, even if they don't win or don't perceive that they won. Not every case is a win-lose, but I take tremendous pride in making sure that everybody gets the same opportunity to present their evidence, to be heard by the court, and then to have a decision that is consistent with the evidence presented and the statutes that apply. And again, every hearing, even if I have 15 of them in the morning perhaps, they'd probably be simple hearings if I had 15, but if I have 15 of them in the morning, every single hearing gets a fresh reset. You approach each case anew, and you listen to the evidence presented, and then you apply the evidence and the testimony presented to the law that applies in that particular case. And that's how you get a just ruling quickly, efficiently, over and over and over again.
Do you have any experience in St. Johns County? Have you had any cases up there?
I have sat as a child support hearing officer in St. Johns County multiple times, mostly filling in, to be honest, for another judicial officer. But yes, I have some connections up there, and I have heard cases up there as a hearing officer, so yes.
Mr. Coffman?
Yes.
Raven Sword, how are you?
Hello, Ms. Sword.
How are you? One of my
Good.
questions has to do with your involvement in the community. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I am involved in the community. I have dedicated most of my professional career to public service. While it's not certainly charitable work, I am a director on my condominium association board, where I do help govern the condominium association where I live. That is incidentally a position that I've been elected to multiple times, albeit by the people who live in my rather large condo building, so it's not exactly the same thing. Yes, it is a thankless job, but it's an important job, and I don't mind doing it and volunteering a little time. I'm also a member of the Moose Club, where we do support moose charities, Moose Haven, Moose Heart, that sort of thing. And I have a lot of contacts in the community, people that I have known, worked with, worked as opposing counsel against in court, but who have respect for me and who have become friends over the years. So I do have a lot of ties with Volusia County and the local community.
Now, I've been before you, and I get the impression that you have a large docket.
Yes.
And also are under the impression that you deal a lot with pro se litigants. And, I know that you have time restrictions or hearing times and trying to get orders out timely while still trying to give everyone an opportunity to be heard. So can you tell us kind of how you were able to balance those competing interests on a day-to-day basis with what you have to deal with it?
That is one of the biggest challenges associated with any judicial position, including the one I now hold, and especially with pro se litigants. I mean, everybody has their story, and everybody wants to be fully heard. And what's important to remember is with a pro se litigant, they get the same exact opportunity as a lawyer does to avail themselves of the process. And the same court rules, the same rules of evidence, that all applies. But there are things you can do with pro se litigants to help them understand the process. And there are things that you can do, for example, if a pro se litigant doesn't have a lawyer to question them, You can still allow them to present testimony in the narrative, which will provide them with an opportunity to be heard. And I take great pains to listen to everyone, up to a reasonable point, and continue to move the cases forward. But I listen to everyone, everyone gets their say, and presents their testimony. When people come in on contempt matters, I ask them if they would like to call any witnesses, and occasionally they do, usually they don't. But the fact that you give them that opportunity is important to provide them with the opportunity to be heard. You have to balance that, as you alluded to, with the huge docket that a position like the one or a judge would have, one I have now or a judge would have. It's challenging, but I've gotten very good at it, I feel. I have heard consistently 200 to 350 cases, depending on the circumstances, per month for about the last 13 years. In each of those cases, I've rendered a report and recommendation to a circuit judge that were entered as orders of the court. And
You said between
200 and 350. It varies by month.
per month.
Yes, per month. Those are cases I've heard as a hearing officer. Yes.
Mr. Coffman, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
What are your feelings on the death penalty? Because as a circuit court judge, you may be asked to preside over a case involving the death penalty.
Florida does have the death penalty, and it is part of the body of Florida law. And as a circuit judge, I would apply the Florida law as written, and if the jury came back with the appropriate recommendation for the death penalty, I would be comfortable applying it, subject to the circumstances and facts of the case. I mean, it's a very heavy burden, a very serious thing to do, but at the same time, it is provided for in the law, and I have no problem applying that particular law.
Any questions in the room? Any questions online? Thank you, Mr. Coffman. Sorry about the technical glitches. Maybe we'll get the third one right.
Well, I want to thank you all again, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I would very much, of course, as everyone would who's interviewing today, like the opportunity to go talk to the governor's staff, and thank you.
Thank you.